Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday night. Welcome to this week's edition of the Bench Mob here on the 48 Minutes Basketball Network. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I think that's it. But also, if you're listening to the audio feed tomorrow morning on the podcast, we welcome you as well. I'm Tim Daniel. Excited to be here as we're talking some awards that have been given out. My cat is going insane behind me right now. So I'm trying not to get bit while he's scratching all my cardboard boxes. Josh just got kicked out, I guess. So we're off to a great start.
He's not a big cat fan.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, you said cat. I am out of here." Josh, you're back. We're frozen. Are you here?
Yeah, he's like Madonna right now. He's frozen.
Yep. All right.
Welcome, everybody.
Yeah, we're off to a great start tonight. Unbelievable. All right. Well, now that I'm thrown off my groove, I'm Tim Daniel, and I'm excited to be here with, as always, Mr. Sean Mackey.
What's up, Tim?
It's a day. It's a
day.
Yeah. And, of course, joining us, we're without Ben Brown tonight, but joining us, Mr. Joshua Hayes. I can't do what Ben does, so I'm not even going to try. And he's gone again.
Let's just roll. Let's just roll. Yeah. He's gonna come back.
Yeah.
He's coming back.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on there. All right. Well, it looks like Josh is loading back in. So I guess we'll go ahead and we'll get started with the conversation that is the NBA MVP has been awarded to Nikola Jokic for the second year in a row.
Two-time.
Which means this will be his last year getting it because of voter fatigue, no matter how good he is next season. Something I don't understand, but, whatever. So, obviously, the Nuggets got eliminated in the first round. Jokic did play this whole season without, his second and third best players on his team. I know we kind of had a conversation a few weeks back on why we kind of felt like it should have been Embiid that won it and not Jokic. But, I'm not necessarily upset that Jokic won it. I would have picked Joel Embiid if I had a vote. So, it's kind of real quick. What did you guys take away from the MVP voting?
I think that Jokic winning it a second time, he is one of those guys. I feel like the media they're completely entrenched in advanced stats and things like that, and he checks so many boxes there. And let's not clown around and say that Jokic was not good enough to win the MVP or anything. He was phenomenal this year. I think that Joel Embiid did a phenomenal job. Like Joel Embiid said, I don't know what he has to do to win the award at this point because he had a hell of a season. But Jokic, man, he ended up doing – you got to look at if you take a player away from a team, how far did they get without that player? And the Nuggets would have likely been in the draft lottery had they not had him playing with their other two studs on that team. And you know what? He plays an incredible game. I think he's probably one of the most talented centers of his era at this point. But it's sad, he didn't even get out of the first round. He joins Dirk Nowitzki as one of those season MVPs who doesn't move on from round one. And it's unfortunate, but Russell Westbrook, another great example. So yeah, but I think it's cool that he won again. Like you said, there's no way he's going to win a third time. It just won't happen no matter what the situation is, but congrats to Nikola Jokic, man.
Yeah, I think you said a lot of the things I wanted to say. The only thing that I can even come up with is that I don't know if they look at the amount of games played. I know we had like a thread going, and I sent you guys the records of each team when that guy didn't play. And winning percentage wise, Jokic's team had the worst winning percentage. I think they were 2-6 when he was out of the game. He missed 8 games. Giannis missed 15 and Embiid missed 14. And I don't know if that's enough to say, well, this guy missed 6 more games than the next guy, so like we can't make him the MVP. But I think it did show just in the record, Philly was 6-8. I mean, they were almost 500. Jokic 25% winning percentage when he wasn't in the game. And so I think that speaks volumes to what he means on the floor. And I think he may have had the least amount to work with out of all the teams with, his two big guns missing for the season. So I would venture out to say if he put up the exact same stats next year, maybe even better, that they will not vote him MVP. It'll be somebody else.
Yeah, like Giannis last year was just as good as he was his 2 MVP seasons and was not in the voting. Obviously LeBron, you could have made a case like his whole prime, maybe like for 15 years in a row, he could have been the MVP.
Right.
And didn't get any of them.
And then the only bad thing I'll say about them getting knocked out of the first round, and I'm a firm believer now that seedings don't mean as much as they used to.
Sure.
We all knew that Golden State was one of the 2 best teams in the West. And, they were the 3 seed. So they ended up running. I'm not saying that if Memphis would have fell to the 3 or Phoenix would have fell to the 3 that Denver would have had a chance. But you look at that series and Golden State's all of a sudden healthy. Like that's a hard team to beat in a matchup of 3-6. Like they may have been better off playing someone else. And I know we'll get into that a little bit later, but Golden State was clicking on all cylinders in that series, and that's why it was kind of a gentleman's sweep. I mean, it almost wasn't even close.
Yeah, you're right. I think my theme of the awards this season are I'm not against who all won it, but I probably would have voted in another direction. So like Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus Smart wins it. I have no issues with him winning it. I would probably pick Mikal Bridges. Rookie of the Year, I have no issues whatsoever with Scotty Barnes winning it. His team made the playoffs outright. I think Mobley's a better player. I don't have any issues with Coach of the Year. That's probably the one where I was like, okay, yeah, Monty Williams, this team lost less than 20 games. Sure, they've lost 22 games. They played about 95 counting the playoffs. So sure, yeah.
He probably deserved it before this year anyway. So
yeah, exactly. And then the guy from Memphis getting Executive of the Year with how good that team is without Ja Morant blows my mind. We saw what they did last night, obviously. So. I think these are all fair. I'm not going to sit here and fight that Jokic should not have won MVP by any means. He's certainly deserving of it, but I hope he enjoys this as his last MVP. Probably about 6 years.
One thing I can tell you is Drew Holiday took that Defensive Player of the Year thing personally last night.
Mm-hmm. I checked my phone because I was about to record my other show when they were down like 25. And I was like, all right, I guess Boston's going to win this one. And then, the Bleacher Report push notification pops up. It's like, what a game. It's within 3 with a minute to go. And I'm like, what the hell happened? So this morning I had to watch the consolidated game. Take a drink, Tim. And it's like, oh, man, wow, that's crazy.
I was kind of like, man, I wish the Bulls still had Bobby Portis.
I think everybody's thinking that. So he was one of those guys that was destined to be like a great role player on a good team. It's just he was on the wrong team from the beginning. So
yeah, who knows what happens if he doesn't punch Nikola Mirotic in the face and break his jaw?
I forgot all about that. Yeah.
I'll never forget about that because it was like we were already down on the season before it even started. And then the night before opening night, that comes out.
Yeah, I totally blocked that from my mind, to be honest with you. And I've actually, that's the first time that I've heard Mirotic's name in a while. So
probably will be the last time for a long time.
Yeah, Tim, I tell you a little bit about. I watched that game last night, and I like 4 or 5 times I was going to turn it off. Boston jumped up by 16, and I'm like, all right, Milwaukee can't score, and then I almost question coaches sometimes because Jaylen Brown was so hot in the third quarter, and they sat him, right? So while he's on the bench, towards the end of him coming back is when the Bucks started making a little run, and then when he got back on the floor, he took 2 shots the rest of the game. And I don't know if that's going to be Boston's downfall, is that they don't go with the hot hand. It's almost like, hey, it's Tatum's team. Like when Tatum's in the game, like he's the guy. I think they went to Tatum a little too much last night, and Jaylen Brown was like, hey, I'm the one hitting all the tough shots. Like, get the ball back to me. And they were like, no, it's Tatum. Tatum took all the big shots kind of towards the end. Jaylen Brown didn't really touch the ball that much. And I'm like, but he was making some really tough shots. I mean, like 4 or 5 times down the floor. I mean, he hit shots with guys in his face. I mean, I didn't realize that he could shoot like that when he was on. And he was getting to his spots and hitting mid-range shots, and then they just took the ball away from him. And that was pretty much the ball game to me. Like, it didn't move as much. And then the Bucks everybody was shooting. Wesley Matthews, Portis, Pat, Giannis, like they were all of them hit a 3 in the fourth quarter at some point to get them back into that game. Drew, they all hit one. And that's kind of when the momentum turned.
Yeah, I looked at the box score, and Jason Tatum, again, I didn't get to watch the game because I was working. But it looked like Jason Tatum definitely had an empty 34 points. 12 of 29 from the floor, 2 of 11 from 3. And like people were going to be like, yeah, he had 34 that night. And it's like, this is like a James Harden 34 in Houston, except for James Harden didn't have a guy like Jaylen Brown ever when he was in Houston to help him score like that. Maybe Chris Paul is the closest thing to it, obviously. But seemed like the Celtics blowing a big lead at home to go down 3-2 in a series. You just hate to see it.
Did you guys see? Go ahead, Josh. Okay. Did you guys see the picture that somebody had snapped with Bill Simmons in the background?
No.
With the last couple of seconds and him just like going, like just with like this dumbfounded look on his face. It's probably like one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
Oh, well, I've avoided listening to him while the Celtics have been really good. So I cannot wait for them to get eliminated because that episode is going to be fantastic. Not to say they couldn't come back and win this series, but
it will be. It will be I love his Celtics meltdown episodes are great. And then, but it's so funny when they're like, never mind. I'm not going to go on about Bill Simmons, but he's just, he's one of the most just unapologetic homers that runs a podcast right now. I mean, it's overboard. I know we talk a lot of Bulls on here, but Jesus Christ.
I almost respect it to an extent because but also it is annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm fine with what the Bucks did to the Bulls as long as they beat the Celtics. If they went just smoked the Bulls the way they did and lose to the Celtics, then I'm pissed.
Yeah.
I will tell you what, though. I know we're recording during Game 6 of Philly and Miami. If you guys have not seen, with 2 minutes to go in the third quarter, the Sixers don't even have 60 points.
Ooh. Yeah. Well, they don't have...
Miami is playing unbelievable defensively.
Yeah, they've locked down at this point. So, man, both the Eastern and Western Conference Finals are going to be great this year. They're just going to be really, really good, and it's going to be. I feel like we're going to get 7 games for both of them.
You know what it kind of reminds me of, especially if the Bucks. At this point, I think Miami's going. I don't know about the other series, but even if the Bucks, the Celtics, or the Heat, it reminds me kind of the old '90s Eastern Conference versus Western Conference, where you got a little bit more finesse in the West, and then you kind of got like the bangers in the East that's like rugged, like wants to play like that hard-nosed defense. Almost kind of that era that Jordan had to come through to get to the finals, and then you kind of play a team that's a little bit more fast-paced on the other side. So that's going to be an interesting matchup to see because I know Phoenix seems like they're the team that can slow down the most and play that kind of ball. I don't know if Golden State can be as physical with the other teams, when it comes down to it. So like if they can't speed the game up, it might be a struggle for them.
It's ridiculous that Phoenix doesn't need Chris Paul to score to beat teams by 30, right? Like,
yeah,
he can just kind of relax some games. Like he only had 7 points the other night and they won by 30 behind Devin Booker's 28 and DeAndre Ayton's 20 and 9. And Devin Booker shot pretty efficiently, 11 of 20 from the floor, 3 of 7 from 3.
Yeah.
So pretty impressive what Phoenix is able to do, man. So they play tonight as Game 6, which will be, by the time that we're done recording, will be starting. So, yeah. I guess Luka and Devin Booker now got some smoke.
I like it.
I do
I
too.
like it. We need more
Yeah.
smoke in the NBA right now.
I agree. But I'm with you, Josh. I do think Milwaukee does win one of the next two. So I do think we get a Miami-Milwaukee conference finals rematch of the bubble conference finals, if I remember correctly. No, that was Boston. Sorry, was it? Who cares?
No one remembers the bubble.
Yeah. It was fun. I think it was because we were just all straight in our houses that made it so fun that we could watch something. But
yeah,
it was good. So let's kind of go real quick. Want to touch on, where was I? Okay, yeah, getting back to my notes. Take a drink, Tim. So I touched on it for a second last night. The Golden State Warriors, stop me if you heard this before, had a 3-1 lead with a chance to clinch a playoff series.
They put up a stinker.
To put it lightly, they put up a stinker. Memphis scored 50 points in the fourth quarter alone.
Ooh. That's a statement
No,
game.
I'm sorry. My apologies. It was 42 points in the third quarter.
Okay.
They only scored 15 in the fourth because it didn't matter anymore.
Wow. Yeah. How are you guys?
No Ja Morant. They still did that. That's amazing.
How are you guys feeling about Golden State now?
Golden State will win by double digits in Game 6.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel the same way.
They were getting taunted last night at the end of it, and they were like soaking it in. They were like, all right, that's fine. Cool. Yeah, everything's going to be great.
I feel like every now and then a team just has that game where, like, if you look at Game 4, that was a struggle for them. They trailed the entire game and took the lead with like 2 minutes left in the game or something like that. And then it comes out that, Steve Kerr tested positive for COVID. And then, you had Draymond's teammate at Michigan State who got killed. And Mike Brown took the head coaching job at Sacramento. And all this stuff came out.
We got to talk about that.
All that stuff came out before the game. And I just think that they were just super emotional and they found a way to win that game. And I think when they realized that Steve wasn't going to be with them in Memphis, they traveled to Memphis and they were kind of like, it was almost like they were kind of like, let's just get there and get the game over with and let's get back home. And I kind of feel like that with the mixture of how the game went, it was almost like they gave up in the middle of the game. They were like, you know what? Let's not exert all the energy. Let's just get back home and win this series and get out of it. And let's wait for the next series. So that's kind of how I see it. It just kind of looked like they just took their foot off the gas and they packed it in early and they were kind of done with it. And they were like, let's go back. But to your point too, Tim, if I could pull the record up, I don't remember what it is, but like you said, Memphis without Ja.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like 20 something and 4, I think. And it's almost like, again, like you get those things like, would you rather play without him?
No. You can't win a finals without him by any means.
Oh no! I mean, we saw what he did in Game 2. I mean, it's not like it's not like you don't need him on the floor. But Memphis was shooting lights out. I mean, they basically played the way that Golden State played when Golden State put up 142 on them. It was like 50-something% from three. High 50s from the floor. Everybody was making stuff. Guys who never was even putting. Brandon Clark and Jackson Jr. and all these guys were just they were all just contributing. And like I said, I think Golden State at some point just gave in. If you look, I mean, none of their starters played over 25 minutes. They took them out in the third quarter and said, let's pack it in and go home.
To put in context how big of a blowout that was, Jarrett Culver got to play 12 minutes. John, you all right over there?
Yeah, I got a new desk, so I'm just, I'm I don't really know where my legs are supposed to go in it, so it's like I keep banging into stuff.
I feel you. Yeah, I feel the way that Josh does. I think Golden State wins tomorrow night, and if there's no Ja Morant on the road in a clinching game, I can't see Golden State letting that one fall apart.
There's no way that Golden State is gonna. I think I completely agree with what Josh said. They packed it in early. They're gonna go home. They're gonna. And you know what? That might have been one of those games where they just needed it because they were just tired and they were like, you know what, we'll live to see another day and we'll move on. But I feel like Grizzlies fans are never gonna let this down.
Nor should they, man.
No.
Nor should they. Like, I truly believe that's the next small market team that kind of does what Milwaukee did. They're going to be the team that signs Morant to a long-term extension. People are going to want to go there to play with him.
Yeah.
They're going to be, and Taylor Jenkins has shown that he is a very, very good coach.
He is.
And Jaren Jackson Jr. keeps getting better, and he's on the floor, most importantly. So, like, you're seeing what it's like when he's healthy. And, they've got a high draft pick this year because they have the Lakers pick. So they're likely picking the top 10, maybe top 5. So there's adding another weapon to that team.
They're just, what if they trade that pick for Rudy Gobert?
And you know what? That's a great move for them. I don't love Rudy Gobert by any means. His whole, I would lock Shaq up.
I think
no, you wouldn't, buddy.
It's definitely, I think, an upgrade at the center spot though for them, and definitely shores them up defensively. I wouldn't mind seeing something like that.
Do you think he would be in Ja's way though? The way that guy wants to get to the middle of the floor and drive to the basket, like, I don't know. I like Steven Adams on that team. I like his veteran leadership. He brings some toughness. I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel Rudy would fit there because I feel like at least Steven Adams knows how to get out of the way.
That's true. He's a guy. He's a guy. He's a guy who knows his role. I agree, but I don't know, man. I feel like I think they're one piece away. I think they're really one, literally just one. Get them there. Get them their Rasheed Wallace type character, and get somebody over there to help out Ja, because you get that, and you're going to be in. They're a title contender right now, but I just with Ja being out, even though they're great with him being out, they don't have enough to win the finals. So,
yeah. Do you think that that Brooks or Bane or Melton can be a guy that can consistently give you 20 a night?
Desmond Bane, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Actually, I have it wrong, so because of the confusingness. So New Orleans will actually retain that Lakers pick. It doesn't go to Memphis this year.
Oh, okay.
But right now it has New Orleans drafting Ben Mathurin with that pick, which, like, fuck me. That's not even fair. If those guys are healthy, they're going to be really good. But, yeah, I think Desmond Bane can certainly be a guy that you can go off for 20 at any night. I mean, he freaking shoots what did he shoot this year? 39% from 3.
Yeah.
Something pretty close to that. He was, I liked him a lot at TCU. I was kind of hoping he would go to the Bulls in the second round, but the Memphis was too smart to trade up and get him with the last pick in the first. So
yeah, Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. I think has the makings to be an all-star.
Man, he's
right there.
His dad was good, but man, it's crazy how good he is. So right now they have the 22nd pick, Memphis does, that they got from Utah. So maybe they could send that back for Rudy Gobert. Maybe Sean's onto something.
Perhaps.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I guess Patrick Baldwin Jr. decided to stay in the draft. That's stupid, but whatever. We'll talk about that another time. When is the lottery? We're getting pretty close to that, right? The lottery draw?
Mm-hmm.
NBA draft lottery. Let's see here. It is.
Sean just got a new computer, so I knew he wanted to search it. That's why I asked.
I did. It's so the draft's on the 22nd of June.
Mm-hmm.
When the hell is the draft lottery date? Let's see here.
May 17th.
May 17th. Oh wow!
Oh.
I didn't know. Man,
you guys, I'll be out of town. You guys might have to do the lottery cap. You guys will do the lottery cap without me.
Ooh, yeah. I didn't. You know what? Like, I'm usually like pretty excited about the draft lottery and everything this year, and every year, and it completely slipped my mind that it was so close. Because I think we had a couple draft lotteries that were kind of later in the summer, and
Yeah, now that we're like back on a normal calendar.
Yeah, we're back to normal.
Yeah.
Like the finals aren't the week of my birthday this year, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is what this is like.
Yeah.
We don't have the draft in October, and the season starts 3 weeks after the draft.
Oh, that was the worst. That was the worst.
Terrible. You would like turn on the show, and like you would just see Sean and I just like, whatever, we're here. Just what's going on? Oh, the Lakers got Dennis Schroeder. Okay.
The season that would not end.
No, it was like 7 seasons in one.
It really was.
All right,
10
so
10
go ahead,
minutes
Josh.
left. The Heat are up 17. Looks like
Should we go ahead? Should we go ahead and do the Sixers exit interview, or is James Harden going to get hot right after we do that and we jinxed it?
We'll do it at the end of the show.
All right, that's fine. Because I have no clue how they get better, but we'll talk about that. Besides the fact that Doc Rivers is going to get fired likely. So Josh made mention of it a little earlier in the show when talking about everything going on with Golden State. Mike Brown taking the Kings job, which I don't know if there's a franchise I'd want to coach for less in sports.
I agree.
Than the Kings. And I'm saying that as a Cincinnati Reds fan.
They and it's funny, like all these coaches like lined up for interviews. You know, Mark Jackson's going down there, and Mark
Jackson's gonna be the Lakers coach.
Yeah, that's happening. That is 100% happening. Yeah, I mean Mike Brown, you know, he's
I'm not even certain he's a bad coach. I'm also not certain he's a good coach though either.
It's very true. It's very true.
Are we going to put Mike Brown in the Luke Walton category? I mean, because he sat in at that head chair for the Warriors a few times and looked like he was the NBA's best coach with that team. And then you saw what happened when he went to Sacramento.
Yep.
Well, he had to stop in LA first. So, so he just like went like this since leaving Golden State. Yeah, I don't know, man. I would like to see him do well. I like Mike Brown. I think he's a nice enough dude. But you know, coaching for the Kings, the black hole of the NBA.
What are you doing out there? You know, it's so sad what has become of Sacramento Kings basketball because they have such great fans, and they had such a run in the 2000s that like, and that's all we can talk about. We have nothing else. You know,
there was the one year that they pushed for a playoff spot. Was that 18 or 19? And we were like, oh man, the Kings, they
might do it.
And then they, who was whoever the coach was at the time, they fired him, and you were like, oh.
Yep. Typical. I mean, they've been through more coaches, I think, than any other team over the last 20 years. I mean, it's been terrible.
In all of sports.
Yeah, it's really, really, really bad. So
I do want to throw this out there though, because he had that stint with Cleveland, and I know he had LeBron, but he went 50-32, and made the finals. 45-37, 66-16, 61-21, and then he went to the Lakers and went 41-25. So he has a record of winning. But I don't know how much you put on LeBron for the majority of that when he was the coach in Cleveland.
Well, that, and then he was also the coach Kobe's last pre-Achilles season, and so he certainly has been around winning. So I think he has a good idea of what to do as far as making stuff happen and putting consistent streaks together and runs together. But when things are bad with him, they're really bad. But hey, man, it could have just been Cleveland. Like you said, Josh, Ty Lue leaves Cleveland, and look at him now. He's maybe one of the 4 or 5 best coaches in the league. So
true that.
Should he have waited though? Because Doc Rivers is probably going to get fired. Should he have waited a couple weeks and gotten the Sixers job?
Can he take backs? Can he do take backs?
Was it Billy Donovan? He took the Orlando Magic job and then was like, actually, I'm going back to Florida because I think my team might be better than this team.
Didn't he get banned from coaching in the NBA for a few years for accepting an offer, and then they were like, you can't coach here for it's 5 years or something.
Yeah, because he did the press conference and he was like, I'm really excited to be in Orlando. This is going to be great. And then he was like, oh man, my Florida team might be better than this team. No.
Yeah.
But I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he went to KC.
So Mike Brown did win Coach of the Year in 2009. That was the year they lost to Orlando in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
Most disappointing year in Cleveland history right there. That was so bad.
I know.
Yeah, because I really think that Cleveland probably would have gave the Lakers
yeah.
They would have probably gave the Lakers. Man, that would have been so cool to see Kobe versus LeBron in the finals.
That's the thing like everyone talks about. It's like the biggest what if. The thing I always take away from that finals is that Dwight Howard in those 5 games got a total of 36 shots total through the whole series. That's it.
I don't know if Chris Broussard's did it, but I think Chris Broussard might have to do you kids just don't know how good Dwight Howard was back then.
You're right.
I think everybody that sees the Dwight Howard now, I don't think they understand that guy when he was 3-time Defensive Player of the Year and he was literally like a one-man wrecking crew at center.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
those Orlando teams were incredibly fun. They were so well built. Yeah.
Rashard Lewis.
Like JJ Redick was like the 10th man on the bench.
Michael Beatrice was good at professional basketball.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of JJ Redick, man, he is a great commentator and analyst on TV. Good. I will watch him anytime he's talking about basketball.
Just his whole you guys overrate, you old people overrate Bob Cousy stuff is like,
man, he does not like Bob Cousy.
Right in my heart. Me neither.
I would like to see more JJ Redick on TV and then some a little bit less of the old heads that are on ESPN in the afternoons. Like freaking Bob from the Boston Globe.
Bob Ryan, yeah.
Bob Ryan, man. I am so sick of seeing him on television. We just keep giving him stuff every week. I'm come on, let's get some new people in here to talk about. And like Josh said, JJ Redick is fantastic. There's so many other people I'd rather listen to than the people they have on those shows.
Mad Dog was like, Bob Cousy changed basketball. And he's like, JJ Redick's like, Bob Cousy couldn't dribble with his left hand.
What did he say? Good. He was playing against firemen and plumbers.
I do like the younger generation of analysts that are on there. You know, the Jay Wills, and the JJ Redicks, and actually even Draymond Green when he's not playing and he's on there. You could tell those guys understand basketball in a different aspect of how the way they should
understand basketball. Yeah.
And and I know that they do it for ratings. I mean, anytime you're listening to Skip Bayless or, you're listening to Nick Wright, I think they say a lot of things for ratings, man. I think they try to get stuff that's just so far out there that they want people to comment on it. But I feel like the younger generation of guys that are on there, I think they're speaking from their knowledge of actual basketball. They played the game. They played it at a very high level. They're playing the new age game. Some of them were in that transition period where they played kind of where some of the rules changed. So they understand both sides of it.
Far better than when Rasheed Wallace said LeBron couldn't play in his era. And I went, you guys played in the same era.
You mean the same LeBron that lit him up for 25 in one quarter?
That was I laugh a lot. I get annoyed a lot with some of the stuff these older takes of these guys. But that was the one where I was literally laughing because I was record literally go to basketballreference.com and search LeBron James versus Rasheed Wallace. It's not they played once or twice. They played the same division for a few years. They just passed there were two boats passing in the ocean. No, they were around each other a lot. But he couldn't play in your era.
Yeah, he was, and LeBron was already an all-star, so it wasn't
next year he won MVP for the first time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good stuff.
The crazy part about that is I think LeBron was not an all-star his rookie year, and then every year since he's been an all-star.
Yeah, because he didn't make the playoffs his first 2 years, and then he made it for whatever year straight till his first year with the Lakers.
All them years while Rasheed Wallace was in Detroit. and Portland.
Yeah, Yeah, you remember he played for the Celtics when they went to the finals and lost to the Lakers. He was like a mid-season pickup. He had a run with the Knicks. Remember that? Him and Ron Artest, I think, were on the Knicks together.
I remember the Knicks run as well. He had some weird teams at the end there.
He did. Yeah, I guess he's he's an assistant at Memphis. He doesn't he's not there all the time, but he helps out with Penny. They said it's like a circus down there with Penny, Larry Brown, Rasheed Wallace shows up occasionally.
Yep. That is a
Brown
circus.
and Rasheed Wallace reunited, and it feels so good.
To lose to Gonzaga in the second round. All right, yeah. I'm trying to think what else. I know we haven't really had any other coaching hires. I know there's been a lot of discussions of interviews. Mark Jackson's interviewing with the Lakers. Kenny Atkinson's interviewing with the Lakers.
Yeah.
I think Josh is interviewing with the Lakers at this point because everyone's interviewing with them.
I mean, and honestly, who wants that job right now? Who's going to want to go down there? Because it's you're basically signing up for one season of LeBron. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's staying past this season. They're a mess. The stuff that Jeannie Buss has said over the last couple of days has been,
oh my God,
has been great. And then she's saying that she's getting advice from Kurt and Linda Rambis and Magic and Phil. What is going on? Get some new advisors. Move on.
There's so many hands in that pot over there in LA, man. It's ridiculous. Everybody thinks they know what's best,
there, guys.
Hey, I tell you guys what, I was watching the Lakers play Sunday night. They were playing Philly. It was Game 6 of the NBA Finals, 1980.
What did Kareem do that game? He didn't play, right?
He did not play, but Magic did. And
I heard he played center.
Started at center.
He started at center, put up a 40 spot, and the Lakers won the championship. Didn't see it coming. I did not see it coming.
No,
did not. But I will tell you that Lakers team only had a few hands in the pot, and it seemed to work out pretty well. Mm-hmm. So I kind of feel like if the Lakers just get back to just one voice, whoever that voice is, maybe they just need to bring Phil back. Maybe they just need to bring Phil back and let him run the triangle. And
then LeBron is gone. He is not playing for Phil Jackson.
Ooh, yeah.
That's Mossy comments. That's that.
Yeah.
Bron.
I mean, there were stretches where Kobe didn't want to play for Phil Jackson.
Many stretches.
I've always wanted to argue, was Phil that great of a coach, or did he have 4 guys that made him look phenomenal?
Yeah, I mean,
he really did.
That's the best debate of everything. I'm so sick, we talk about all the time. I'm so sick of well, what about Jordan versus LeBron and this is LeBron even better than Kobe? Which yes he is, but that's a different conversation. But the Phil Jackson, Greg Popovich too. Is he that incredible, or did he have Tim Duncan, David Robinson, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker in a perfect system? Which I think he's phenomenal. So, but it's an interesting conversation.
I have my theory that the Bulls would have won a championship with Doug Collins. I truly believe that.
In 90?
Well, they lost in 90.
Yeah, they lost in 89.
They lost. I think that they were I still think that had Doug been the coach of that team, by the time they got to 91 and they had the team that they had, I think it was Jordan was the reason they won the title. I don't think it was the coach at that point. I think Doug Collins, if he's the coach, they still win.
Jordan, and then the move to have Magic be guarded by Scottie.
Yeah.
That did so much for that series. Believe me, Scottie Pippen will tell you all about how much it helped that series that he guarded Magic Johnson.
Oh. Yeah. And Jordan still averaged a triple-double pretty much in the finals, but
who was the center of that team? Was it God, that was so funny.
Cartwright.
Yeah.
It was Cartwright.
Yeah. And Cliff Livingston, I think, was the backup. And Stacey King. Yeah.
If you guys go back and look at that final series, Horace Grant actually had a really good series.
He did. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was super good in that. Actually, he was really good in that Magic Rocket series. They just,
Oh, or just he was really good in that playoffs. Those playoffs. That was
Hakeem.
He was incredible.
Yeah.
He was incredible. Yeah. Horace Grant is like one of the I think, and he's got what, 4 or 5 rings? 4 rings?
Yeah. 4 rings.
Horace,
One with the
yeah,
Lakers.
Horace Grant might be on the same level as Paul Pierce, though. When you started watching that Last Dance, he might be on that dry snitch level. I mean, he was. They were definitely saying that he was airing out some dirty laundry.
Which you can get your dry snitch T-shirt at 48minutesbasketballnetwork.merchmake.com.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so funny. I didn't even think about that. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that again. That should be
The
a
Last
fun.
Dance.
That would be a fun pod series, like the rewatch 2 years later of The Last Dance and how we react to it the second time we watch it. Because I have the box set. My mom got it for Christmas last year.
Nice.
Yeah, I love it.
I was just talking the other night that I wanted to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah, because I know we're talking about we're probably gonna do something over the summer. And Josh, you're welcome to join us on this. This is with Sean and I just spitballing ideas and kind of going behind the curtain for our listeners at this point. We'll probably do something where we just watch through Winning Time again and just kind of put like a week up of episodes where people can just kind of like go listen to it and rewatch it. And I thought that was fun. I got to finish this Magic doc on Apple TV. I've watched the first episode. I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
I have not started watching yet. I will say to everybody that's listening, if you have not watched the Winning Time yet, the first season was absolutely fantastic. And don't get into the whole Jerry West and Kareem like bashing the series. I mean, it was designed to do what it was designed to do.
Yeah, it's a dramatic. It literally says in there, this is a dramatic reenactment of
what
was in the book.
And you know what, like. The thing that's so funny to me, like Jerry West is so upset about the way he's portrayed in that show. Like, I don't really think he's portrayed as like a terrible person or anything. He's just angry, and they use him as comic relief in the show.
Yeah,
they use him as like comic relief in the thing, and it works. And man, like. Oh, the acting in that show is just phenomenal. They have just done a fantastic job of casting everything. But
I think I saw where they said that like he was mad. They kind of portrayed him as an alcoholic, and I was like, I didn't get any of that watching the show.
No, I didn't. He's a character. That's all it is. He's a character, and they've kind of drummed him up to be what he is. But I don't really even think anything that was on there was super negative about him. It's just, it's funny because the way that he is reacting is the way that Jerry West in Winning Time would react.
Right, almost like he's telling on himself.
Yeah. I'm gonna take this to the Supreme Court. What?
What? All they're doing is showing like how he's like burned by the fact he lost in the finals so many times. Like,
that's okay. That is okay. You can feel burned.
I also feel like the way Kareem's reacting to the show is how they actually portrayed him in the show as well.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
He's like, look, I love Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, one of my all-time favorite players. Like, one of my idols, truthfully. Like, everything he does for world peace, everything he does for COVID activism. I thought he was extremely funny. The episode of Dave he was on. But like Kareem was not a great teammate. I don't think people remember this. Like, obviously we're younger, but when he left Milwaukee, it wasn't like he left and was like, thanks for everything, Milwaukee, and put a letter I can add in the paper. No, he was like, get me the hell out of here. Like,
yeah.
Like
he was a diva, man. He really was. He was a diva, and he wanted to be treated like, he was the man, and he was the man, and he's arguably the greatest center of all time. So, it's
top 3 player of all time.
And to piggyback on that, in the series, I mean, they treated him with the utmost respect. Like every single person on the team was like, he's the captain. Like, we don't do anything unless it goes through him. Yeah. And then like they portray him as, I'm going to get my 30 and 10. Like that's and it was like Magic was the one that broke the mold, that was like, hey, I'm this fun loving guy that wants to win and have fun at the same time, and kind of broke him down a little bit. And if you go back and watch the Lakers in the 80s, I mean, it kind of seems like that's what happened. So
yeah,
I'm glad they dramatized it.
Yeah, I still need to read the book, which I will, because I love Jeff Pearlman. I mean, he's been on this show talking about his Lakers books. So
So I have to ask: did they open it up for a second season, or is this it?
No, it definitely sounds like there's going to be more seasons because I think that it's going to get all the way to Pat Riley being the head coach.
Yeah, I did hear they're looking to cast someone to be James Worthy. So,
and I think that they want to get. I think they want to get to the actual Celtics-Lakers rivalry.
Okay.
Because I love Larry Bird in this show. I love how he's.
Oh my God,
man, so good.
I almost feel like he's probably the one who's probably over dramatized the most. Like him like dipping in the cup when he's coming in and stuff. Like I've seen so many interviews and things and old footage of Larry Bird. Like I've never seen him portrayed the way that he was portrayed in that show, and I feel like that's just the way that the Lakers might remember him.
Yeah.
But it might not have really been that way.
I tell you what, one of the things that kind of caught me, I didn't catch it at first. It like came to me like after the fact when they were watching the finals and he was in the living room with his dad. And somebody said some derogatory message about Magic, and he told his dad to like shut the F up or whatever he said to him. I don't remember what it was, but it was basically like, hey, we're not going to go there. Like we're not going to use this racially dramatic, name calling. He was like, we're going to sit and watch the game. And he was like pissed off because he wasn't there. I was like, dang. I was like, that's the kind of how I resembled and kind of knew about Larry Bird. Like he was all about just the game itself. Like, I heard all these stats. Like he was like, I don't want a white guy guarding me. He's like, because, they're not good enough. And I want to see him get to the point where he's like calling stuff on the floor and he actually does it. Like they say all these stories about Larry Bird doing. I think we're going to get 2 or 3 seasons out of it, at least.
I hope so. I was looking up some of the ages of some of the guys that are in the show, and some of them are way older than they actually look. Like the guy who plays Kareem is like well into his 40s. Yeah. And I think the guy who's playing Norm Nixon, I think he's a little bit older. Yeah, so like a lot of the guys on the show. But I will say this: the guy who plays Spencer Haywood on that show, he has been phenomenal.
Julius
he has been
the Titans.
Yeah. I don't, and the guy that they got, the only guy that I wasn't super impressed with, just because I don't really think that he resembles or it looks like the character, is the guy that got to play Dr. J. Like he was like the one I think who was a little bit miscast in it, but I was
just about to ask you that question. Like, which person do you think they miscasted out of everyone?
Yeah, Dr. J.
It's like they got Dr. J to be like this old Superfly pimp guy.
Yeah. And you know what? If they want to make him like that, that's fine. Like that's but it was so funny though. It was the whole like, I'm gonna bring you under my wing and then I'm gonna beat your butt the next game. When I see you, and also we're gonna go get dinner, right? And then like Magic's like, nah, man, I'm good. He's like, I'm not going to dinner with this guy.
All I could think of when I heard Dr. J speak was like, I was looking for Uncle Drew to come out somewhere. When he was like, what's up, young blood? I was like, Doctor, where's Uncle Drew at?
That's so yeah, I think this too is like opening that door now. So if they do get extended seasons, that means that we're going to get to the 84 season, which means they're going to have to cast someone to play Michael Jordan.
That's what I was asking. Yeah, I think we're going to get to where they cast Jordan.
And also, this kind of reminds me. So it's coming out now. So Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are putting that movie together about Jordan's negotiations to sign his Nike contract.
Yeah.
Where I think it's Matt Damon's playing Phil Knight and then Ben Affleck's playing Sonny Vaccaro, or maybe it's reverse.
Yeah.
But I'm super curious to see. Did they cast someone for MJ yet? Or have they announced that yet?
I don't think they've announced that yet.
I'm
willing to
bet, right?
It could be. I'm willing to bet it'll be like a fresh face that no one's heard of before. Like I'm willing to bet it'll just be a no one, because when you're casting someone like that,
it has to be a semi lookalike. Like you got to at least get somebody that kind of resembles him. Can you find somebody that's 6'6" and got a little bit of hair and and it's got the build that Jordan does? I mean, that's gonna be hard, man.
Well, a lot of those is also Michael Jordan. So
yeah. Well, a lot of those winning time guys are not as big as they look. A few of them are. I think the guy who plays Magic's like 6'5" or something.
No, and they did wonders with the camera.
Yeah, they did. Everything that they did on that show is great. I hope that they get more seasons with it because I've really enjoyed it as a basketball fan. I'm not sure there's been a lot of criticism of the show being a little bit too Adam McKay, but I like his style. There's been a lot of his movies that I don't like. Like I hate The Big Short. Like I never liked that. Like everybody's like, oh, this was such a great movie and everything, and there was just too much going on in it. It was just kind of frenetic all the time. But anyways, I think his style of directing works perfectly for Winning Time for what they were trying to accomplish.
Same.
And
Yeah, I agree.
And James C. Reilly, man, he just carries that show. He is phenomenal in it. He is absolutely phenomenal.
What's the chances that you think some awards will come out of the show?
I think see what they go against for me to really kind of make a decision there.
I think John C. Reilly probably has I think he probably has a chance to probably win an Emmy or a Golden Globe. I don't know if they're doing those anymore, but I think he has a shot at it. And I also think that the guy what's his name? Is it Isaiah or Quincy?
Oh my goodness. Quincy Isaiah playing Magic?
Quincy Isaiah. Yeah, okay, it was both those names.
So
okay.
Good.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal too. Both of those guys have been complete standouts in that show. They've had such a great, but man, Jason Segel is Paul Westhead, like everybody in it, like everybody is so well cast. Carrie Coon's really old husband who plays Jack. Yeah, I couldn't believe she was married to him. It's wild.
No, it's so good, man. I still have to watch the last 2 episodes, but I'm stoked to watch it.
Yeah. So you don't want me to ruin it for you and tell you who wins the championship?
No, man. No spoilers here.
Yeah, no spoilers here. Come on, Josh.
Sorry.
Yeah. Instead, we're gonna watch Space Jam 2 again.
I still haven't watched it.
You don't have.
Don't.
I won't. I almost won't because of. I mean, the first one really wasn't as great as everybody thinks it was.
No, it's terrible, but I love it because it's what it is.
Josh, it was bad from day one. It was never great. When the soundtrack is better than the movie, then you know something's wrong.
That was like a late 90s theme between that, Batman Forever, like just good
City of Angels, Godzilla 1998, like all those phenomenal soundtracks, terrible movies.
A real hypothetical real quick, because I just thought of this. You were talking about Ben Affleck and Matt Damon doing the doc on, or I don't know if it's a doc or a movie.
It's a movie.
Jordan
It's a movie.
Getting the Nike contract. There was a scene in one of the episodes, I don't remember which one it was, where Phil Knight went to Magic Johnson and tried to get him to sign with Nike. And obviously up front, he did not get the deal. He was not giving him the deal that Jordan got. But on the back end, he had offered him stock within the company. Yeah. And I don't know how true that is. And they had showed what that would have been worth now.
It's like $56 billion or something.
It was like $5.2 billion is what the stock would have equaled out at. That's more than Jordan ever made with Nike. And I'm starting to think, like, imagine if Magic takes that deal, does Jordan still get the deal with Nike when he comes into the league?
He might not, because Nike was literally like they were going all chips all in for Michael. Like it wasn't like they were like, we'll get Michael and we'll build this roster. Like Michael was like the all or nothing move, as you can see by the poster behind me, which Sean actually gave me. So,
well, because even that year when they came out with the shoe, like you guys don't remember, like Jordan kept getting fined for wearing a shoe that wasn't regulated in the NBA, and Nike was paying his fine every game to wear the shoe. Yeah. And I think it caused everybody to be like, I want that shoe because I'm wearing it. And like it just blew up out of nowhere. And they obviously got their money's worth out of it. And they were like, we'll pay the fines now because the end result's going to be much greater than what we're paying up front. I just go back to Magic, like when they were like, hey, we'll put your name on the shoe. So the shoe would have said Magic instead of Air Jordan. I would have loved to see how that would have went had that have been the case, instead of him and Larry Bird fighting over Converse.
Yeah, because I think it was when Magic didn't sign, and I might have my timeline off a little bit, but I think it was Daryl Dawkins and George Gervin that Nike like went all in on after they didn't get Magic, because the Iceman campaign came out and Daryl Dawkins had the infamous poster with the dunk, and like I think they were the guys that got what Magic didn't get, not to that money amount by any means, but like they were like, well, we didn't get him, so let's see what we can do with these guys. And like you mentioned the Nike thing in Winning Time, and it made me think of another thing that made me laugh. So there's the scene when they're playing against Kobe's dad, and they show like a baby in the crowd.
Oh
like,
yeah,
says,
yeah.
Kobe Bryant probably asked
Oh,
him for the
yeah.
basketball.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I
that
forgot
was
about that.
that was like the same level of like fan service that they had when they did the OJ Simpson miniseries, and like they like purposely like had like Kim Kardashian and
Yeah.
David what was his name, Schwimmer's like was like, no, OJ, not in Kimmy's room. You know, it was like the same level of fan service when they showed him, but I was like, that's pretty great.
Yeah.
I won't go into detail with it either, but Tim, you said you had a couple episodes left, so you've already seen this, and Sean's already seen it, and Ben's already seen it. But I think the most dramatic thing for me watching the whole entire first season was the whole Jerry Tarkanian episode where like
Oh, yeah.
he went in to be like how he was going to be the coach and then ended up not being the coach and like the reasons behind it. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this can't be real. So I looked it up and I was like, holy, it's real. Like this all really happened.
Yeah.
I was like,
I didn't
so
know
that made me
anything
realize,
about that.
maybe it's not, maybe the series isn't as over dramatized as everybody's making it out to be, because when something that crazy can be real, you know, in a series, I mean, it makes you think about the rest of it, if you know they're actually making stuff up or if it really happened.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we can go ahead real quick before we get out of here because I know we ran a little long. That was actually a really fun segment, though. Sixers have officially been eliminated. X interview
done.
time.
Who's going to be
Bye.
the coach next year?
Who's the coach of the Sixers next year? Is it Kenny Atkinson? I think it's Kenny Atkinson.
I'm going Kenny as well. That's who I was
Ooh.
going to say.
Actually, okay. I just thought about it. I'm going hottest of hot takes here.
Go for it. Throw it at me.
Jay Wright will be the coach of the Philadelphia 76ers next year. He's already in He's already in Philly. He left Villanova because he said he just didn't have the heart for it anymore, quote unquote, paraphrasing. And he's been linked to the Sixers like every time they've had a coach opening since like they drafted Ben Simmons. So Jay Wright, Philadelphia 76ers coach next year.
I like it. But I think it's Kenny. I think it's Kenny.
What do they do with the roster?
That is like,
Ooh.
because I feel like their roster's pretty damn good, honestly. You got to figure out something with James Harden. Like, I don't think he's ever going to be Houston James Harden ever again. If
I am any team right now, especially Philadelphia, like you gave up an entire season and a half of one full season of Ben Simmons to get James Harden. James Harden is going to want an incredible amount of money this year, and he was not great in these playoffs. He was not great.
He had moments, but overall, yeah.
I think it is. I am all aboard I don't think he is the answer for Joel Embiid right now. I don't know who is, but if I'm Philly, I'm moving away from him. I'm getting rid of him. Also, you know, there's so many other pieces. Like there's a couple guys I would keep. Obviously, if I'm Daryl Morey, like I'm gonna just go out and just do whatever I can, just because everything is not working right now. They should have been in the Eastern Conference Finals. They should have been in the finals this year. They're not. I would stay on with Tyrese Maxey. I think he's a complete and utter stud.
I do too.
Let him develop, and then keep on Embiid, obviously. But Tobias Harris, I think he still has value and he is a great player, but I don't think he's gotten them above the mark that they want to. I think you move on from him as well. I think you get rid of both of those guys, clear space, get something else and moving.
I said this before it happened.
Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, I'm just going to say I think the trade hurt them. I said it when it happened. The trade hurt them. Even if Ben Simmons doesn't play.
I think it hurt both teams.
Well, yeah.
Even if Ben Simmons doesn't play, I still think Philly was better with the roster that they had before they got James Harden.
Yeah, and Seth Curry, like getting rid of him, like he was so good at the beginning of the year for them and everything. So like it was just botched. They had to they swang for the fences, and I don't blame them. But James Harden is not the guy he was in Houston anymore. Like those days are over with. I don't think he's ever going to get back to that. I don't think he's super interested in staying in shape. I don't think he's really super interested in basketball anymore.
No, and I know that he's hurt. I know he's wearing the black face mask. I know he keeps getting hit in the face, but Joel Embiid tonight was 7 of 24 from the field.
Crazy.
Yeah, but also, he's got one of his fingers is going to need to get operated on this year. Like, he's in bad shape, man. Like, I mean, and he
took a beating.
I give him some serious props this year.
Same.
He really does. He really does want to win, and he really is going out. I mean, he was beat up, and he should not have been out there. I don't even think for the rest of the playoffs, but he went out there and get it. So I look forward to seeing what he can do. I hope he gets, some rest this summer and comes back rejuvenated with a new squad next year. And I hope they put some shooters around him and go for it, because there's some Philadelphia 76ers teams from 2 or 3 years ago that I think are currently better than the one that just got eliminated. However, the East they played some really good teams a couple years ago, so it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who wins this other series. It feels like whatever team Miami plays, like it's a rivalry series, whether it's Boston or whether it's Milwaukee, just based off of.
I love it.
I'm even going back to the LeBron, Bosh, Wade Heat against the Celtics, and how much that happened back then, and then kind of rekindling it now if that's the team that makes it. And then you got, Miami's the team that knocked Milwaukee out of the bubble.
Oh yeah.
And they've kind of been Milwaukee's kryptonite, the last few years in the playoffs. So it's interesting to see how that's going to go.
Yep.
So
Philadelphia is a team that scares me more about Zach LaVine than anyone else.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Strictly because I do agree with Sean. I do think that they're going to move on from Tobias Harris if they can get someone to take the contract. And they're going to, I don't think they're going to be able to move on from James Harden. But a Maxey, Harden, LaVine, Embiid, that's pretty. I don't know what the money looks like in that situation, but that's a team that makes a lot of sense to me for him. Having shooters around Joel makes a lot of sense, and having another guy. But James Harden might get pissed off at him for having the ball one too many times. So maybe that's more playing in the favor of the Bulls. Like, all this Lakers LaVine talk is just hilarious. We talked about it last week. It's not going to happen. There's okay. I shouldn't say it's not going to happen. I would just say it's going to take a miracle to happen. And that trade that Jay Williams asked about the other day was the worst trade I ever saw. He should have Trade Machine blocked from his computer. The Knicks, Lakers, Bulls 3-way trade where it's like, who says no? And it's like the teams that don't get Zach LaVine. That's who says no.
Yeah. 2 out of the 3 say no, actually.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Why would the Bulls take on Julius Randle? Like, why would they take him after the year he just had when they already have a gluttony of power forwards who are learning basketball still at the NBA level? Like, it's
and I'm sitting here looking at the stats to the game right now with the Heat and the Sixers, and dude, Miami's got a really good roster.
They do.
They do.
Anything Victor Oladipo gives him is a cherry on top.
Yep.
So.
And they're going to get Kyle Lowry back probably this series. So
yeah.
I'm excited for this. I'm excited for these conference finals.
They're going to be really fun.
Yeah.
Wish there was a game on Saturday this week. There's no games on Saturday again.
Why
I hate
do they
that.
do that? That's so
I don't know.
weird.
Drives me crazy.
It's almost like
I'm home
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like the playoffs aren't too long anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we'll go ahead and wrap this week's edition up of the Bench Mob, brought to you by 48 Minutes Basketball Network. Like I said earlier in the show, if you want to support the squad, go to 48minutesbasketballnetwork.merchmake.com. Get yourself some tees, some hoodies, some joggers. We got it all. Got it all there for you. So would definitely appreciate if you guys would go on there and pick up some stuff and show some love. Also, for whatever podcast subscription choice thing you have, go to 48 Minutes and give us a nice solid subscription, a nice solid 5-star review. And that would go a long way. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of our socials. We are all over that as well. So on behalf of Sean and Josh, I am Tim Daniel. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a good night.